innovative economy. Very clearly, this is a blueprint for closing gaps between rich and poor, for energizing the economy in an innovative way that involves education, new industries, the environment as actually an industry in itself, the preservation of the environment, new energy, science, and of course taking that into the global context with the Belt and Road. So this is very much about a new face for the CPC and a new direction, and this is really a blueprint, a very detailed blueprint for the next 5 years.
With new tasks ahead. Well, Lawrence, you might have noticed that all the documents, all the personnel changes were approved with a very high yes rate, with no single objections. That's where the Western media actually put question marks on. What's your explanation?
Western democracy is about conflict and the winner takes all. This is about consensus. And of course, it's about a long process of consensus. This process has been going on not only for months, but maybe even years in terms of bringing together a comprehensive agenda that everybody can agree on. And now it's about getting the job done. Or in a Western democracy, often after the election, the fighting begins between the parties and nothing gets done. The other key thing to think about here in the consensus process is a way of letting Westerners look at it. This is like a corporation having a board meeting and looking at what would be the business plan for the next 5 years. And you can think of the standing committee as the board of directors, and the Politburo is really the management committee. And what we see here, what has just taken place in down the street of the Great Hall of the People, is really the shareholders meeting, approving this blueprint that has been in the making for quite a few years.
I'll be getting back to you in a moment, gentlemen, for more insights. Now let's turn to our reporter Liu Yang in the capital of Sichuan province, in the city of Chengdu. Sichuan is the largest province in southwest China, and the area has taken advantage of its great economic potential over the past 5 years. So Liu Yang, how bright are the development prospects there?
As one of the experts mentioned, we have likely only seen the beginning of the new normal era to continue rejuvenating the nation and to help people realize their Chinese dream. In Sichuan, there are many problems that continuously need to be analyzed, and this won't change over the next 5 years. For example, employment opportunities for migrant workers returning from coastal cities, left behind children, education and medical care equality, the preservation of cultural heritages, ecological protection, and many, many more. Remember, the most frequently used keyword in Xi Jinping's report was development. Between now and 2022, Sichuan and the rest of the southwest region will go through a tremendous transition phase, but needs to do it through sustainable development. With its advanced land and air network, southwest China's goal is on the right track to becoming an international transport hub and trade center. Sichuan's innovation-driven projects have seen a major boom in recent years. Several high-tech zones, industrial parks, railways linking Chengdu and Europe, and expressways connecting the province with Southeast Asia will all play a significant role in boosting the region's economy. Sichuan is involved in both the Silk Road and Yangtze River economic belts, and of course tourism, which plays a significant role. Last year, the province hosted 630 million people, foreigners, come to Chengdu, and they're not just come to see the giant pandas either. They're here to see the changes that happened in the past 5 years. Get back to you.
Thank you very much, Liu Yang. Now from China's southwest to China's northeast. Now let's go to Cui Huiao in China's northeast part of Liaoning province in Shenyang, the capital city there. So looking ahead, what will be the key factors driving development in the northeast part of China, which is currently going through a very rough economic patch? Cui Huiao.
Hi there, Doni again. Well, looking ahead for the next 5 years, apart from furthering structural reform and deepening SOE reform, many believe the key for its economic revival is to keep talent. As of right now, many young college grads choose to leave their hometowns for first-tier cities where they can find better career opportunities. And how to make these people stay and contribute to their hometown's economy is the challenge facing the provincial government. And I will give you the example of the Changguang satellite, which is the country's first commercial remote sensing satellite maker based in Jilin province. And this company is mostly made up of young engineers between the age 25 and 40. And they told me they decided to work in Northeast China because they see opportunities here both for their personal growth and the entire industry's development. And the pay is pretty close to what they would have gotten in cities like Beijing or Shanghai. And plus they benefit from a number of preferential policies, such as getting discounts on housing and social security as well. So these are the type of things that make talent stay. And to give people that hope and optimism about working and living in Northeast China will always be the central theme as the region seeks revival, as well as how to improve people's livelihood, especially for those in less developed regions, and how to create a healthy business environment so that investors are willing to come here and pour capital into this region. All of these will be the tasks and challenges for the local government ahead over the next 5 years. Back to you, Dongning.
Thank you very much, Cui Hao, reporting from Shenyang, capital city of China's northeast Liaoning province. And now let's get back to our studio guest for more insight into the 19th Party Congress. Mr. Zhang, today we've been looking through all the problems in China, mainly about gaps, disparity between the rich and poor, between the different regions of China. By addressing those problems, by addressing the new contradictions in China, can we expect any policy changes in the future 5 years?
Actually, I think that by this Congress, a lot of difficulties and problems has been fully discussed by those representatives. So the aim, the target is very clear. In the future, we have to chase more balanced regional development. So we have to reduce the rest of those poverty populations. So in this regard, I think that in the future, regional economic cooperation as well as regional integration will be more emphasized, especially if you look at Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei province. We already have some very ambitious integration planning, and we already started to implement. Meanwhile, if you look at our greater Greater Bay in Pearl River Delta, also this planning in progress, and maybe in the near future will be released. So that means Guangdong, Macau, and Hong Kong, there will be the integrated city group. Has a common planning and common development in the future. That this region is a very innovation driven oriented economy, also very internationalized, produce so a lot of leading cooperation for China's economy, so very critical. Also, if you look at Yangtze River Delta and Changjiang, Yangtze River economic belt, also we have an integration planning. So this is one very important aspect. Meanwhile, if you look at China's regional cooperation, I mean coastal area, cooperated with the central part of China, western part of China, on the platform of Belt and Road Initiative, and by domestic regional integration and plus our international cooperation with those countries along the routes with other developed economies, gradually China will create our more open, integrated economic system, and then those economic factors will be reallocated with high efficiency, and then we will chase our innovative economic model and restructure China's economy.
Well, Lawrence, as an observer and also an active participant of China's financial and economic activities, if you're asked to raise any suggestions or advices to the central government, what would yours be?
One of the important things is now to look at China with the outside world and to work with the Belt and Road ecological civilization, to work with environmental protectionism as a new soft power. It's a part of Chinese tradition that soft power is more important than hard power. And I think what's very critical is now looking at the regional security, that by having the Belt and Road, by having Chinese businesses go outward and invest, and to have infrastructure investments and share the kind of connectivity that you've just been discussing, not just internally but externally across Central Asia, South Asia, going all the way over to the Middle East and to Africa. That connectivity will create a shared prosperity, and with it a greater security. I think that's really critical. Also, the role of the yuan currency. We are now looking at China being able to bring its currency through swap arrangements across the border into the level of becoming the second reserve currency. And I'd say that in the next 5 years, that has to be a priority of the government in building a new financial architecture, commensurate with the institutions like AIIB and the New Development Bank, Silk Road Fund that have been established, but really a new financial architecture with the Belt and Road countries that can ensure a prosperous and shared development among the South-South, and a development which is, again, smart, green, and blue.
Where do you see China standing in the world stage in the next 5 years?
Well, it's taken center stage. I mean, that's very clear. We have, with the Trump administration, failure on climate change with the United States. We have a shift there back to antiquated industries fired up by coal. You have China now leading the world on renewable energy systems, the single largest investor in the world in artificial intelligence. We were just talking about the Guangdong Connect with Shenzhen. I mean, this is all going to be the new Silicon Valley. And I see very important in building strategic relations with its South Asian partners, not just Pakistan, but India as well. This is very, very critical to have these kind of relationships and shared Asian values. I think one of the big misunderstandings in the West, in Europe, is what are Chinese values. And I think we've seen at this party Congress that the China solution is in the room. It's not coming from outside. It's in local context, and a rejuvenation of Chinese culture, which has some really incredible values, and a lot of the concepts of environmental protection are part of the traditional Chinese value. Thrift, conservation, all of these things are there. And by resuscitating this, I think with other Asian countries that have similar and shared values, building along the Belt and Road, not just infrastructure development alone, but also a shared set of values that can be embraced not only in Asia, but by the rest of the world.
Well, Mr. Zhang, one of the very important agenda at the closing session of the 19th CPC Congress actually is the amendment of the party constitution, which has a new amendment, which is the conclusion of the new era thought.
Yeah.
So how do you see the significance of this new amendment?
Yeah. Actually, in the past, you see every time our party's Congress, actually parties' constitutions had been revised. That's because 5 years longer a little bit, and after 5 years, the situation has been changed. We are facing with different problems, both for social and economic development, diplomatic relationship, and global development trend has been changed. So for China, I think the important thing is that our party's constitutions is aiming for, we have to grasp those new trends.
Right.
We have to face with new problems, for example, new contradictions.
Right.
Also, we have to have a new idea, new thoughts on those problems. That's why we have our, Xi Jinping's thoughts on socialism with Chinese characters. So we have to solve those problems by ourselves instead of thoughts to provide solutions for different problems in different fields. So that's why for environmental protection issues, we have our so-called, green mountain, green water. So generally speaking, I think that new constitutions actually has a system of new ideas on not only political issues, military security issues, as well as economic and social development, and also regarding those concerned issues by people. Yeah.
So one is to keep the party constitution as well up with the change of time, and also shows the determination of developing China to the next stage, which is the great power in the world by the year 2050. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Lawrence Brahm and Mr. Zhang Jianping, thank you very much for your insight today.
Thank you.
All right, with that we conclude our special coverage of the National Congress of CPC, the 19th CPC National Congress. And coming up is Global Watch. Still with me. Stay tuned.